everyone, it's Jessica Edwards in Wilmington, North Carolina. I want to talk about how important the first offer is that you make. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, the very first offer that's presented is absolutely crucial to the negotiation of the entire contract or the entire negotiation process. As a seller, it's really important to not get too caught up in what that first offer is. Don't get emotional about it. Don't get upset. Don't get put off or frustrated if that offer is lower than you think the starting offer should be, because it's just that, a starting offer, and it's opening up the negotiation. Even if it's frustrating to you, take out that personal and that emotional piece to it and negotiate. Let your agent negotiate. Don't get too caught up in why they offered that or why they think you'd be willing to sell the property that way. Sometimes the buyers just put out that offer just to see what the seller is willing to do. So sellers, don't get too caught up on that. On the flip side of that, if you're a buyer, you need to be really strategic in what your first offer is. We often see people just put out a first offer, agents that present a first offer just to present something. It's great, it starts a negotiation, but if you're a little bit more strategic in the first offer you present to the seller, you sometimes can get the seller to negotiate more. So very often a seller has their numbers are what they are, and they're going to negotiate, whatever they can, or are they willing to. Yes, there's always a little bit more room to push typically, but when you start out that first offer super ridiculously low, you know that they're not going to take it. You know that they're not anywhere close to taking it probably. You don't have a very good chance of them coming back very strong. Typically the seller is going to counter back with something that hugs that list price to see what you're really willing to do, because they say, hey, look, this is a ridiculous offer and we're not going to show our cards or put our cards on the table, if you will, until you do. So as a buyer, if you're a little bit more strategic and make a better first offer, sometimes the seller is willing to come back a little bit more aggressively and sooner. You don't delay that process. And right now in Wilmington, for instance, we're dealing with a lack of inventory. So, those, couple days of negotiations could really hurt you as a buyer. Extra days of negotiations could really hurt you as a buyer, because you have a much higher chance of another offer coming in. And obviously that really, really affects your negotiating. So really be mindful of the first offer if you're the buyer, and if you're the seller, don't get too emotional or too frustrated if that first offer is lower than anything that you would even consider. It's a starting point. So two sides of that on a first offer in real estate. If you have any thoughts or comments, please feel free to email me at jessicaedwards@seacoastrealty.com. And of course, please check us out at thecarolinasfinest.com. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.